all had a great Labor Day weekend. I know myself, I did. We went camping, spent some time with the family. I got to beat my son-in-law in dominoes because I'm an expert, y'all know. Well, if you don't, now you do. And then I also got chased by bees, me and the family. It just was a great experience just all together. I pray that you guys are taking this time to spend time with family. Those that are not working right now, those that are on an unemployment or whatever have you, you might think that this is a horrible time, you're not making any money. God still provides. He's a provider. He will make a way where there seemed to be no way. Just know that. Know that the time that you spend with your family is valuable. You can never get that time back, but you can make memories. You can make lasting memories with your family. And that's something that, even though me and my husband, we are essential workers and we're still working, we still try and take time to spend with the family in spite of everything that's going on, because family is important. You can never, ever get that back. So today I wanted to come to you guys and talk to you guys about the types of foster parents. What type of foster parent are you? Or will you be if you decide to be foster parents or encourage someone else to be? Because our children need our help. There are so many out there that are waiting for homes. Teens, I want to say, are the hardest to place. And so because they're the hardest to place, there's less homes for teens. So a lot of them are in group homes. A lot of them are in, some are called the assessment center, and that's where kids are like waiting to be placed. So they have like a bunch of kids there that they're waiting to be placed in homes. And so there are several types of foster parents, and I would like to talk to you guys about some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. Some are those that have infertility. So that is people that cannot conceive. So they opt to foster or adopt a child to have children in their lives because they too love children. The thing about infertility when you're trying to become a foster parent is that some of the questions they might ask is, have you gone through therapy? Have you healed from the experience of whatever they might have done in vitro or whatever have you to try and conceive? Because all of that is traumatizing within itself. So if you could imagine, you're dealing with trauma and then you have kids coming into your home and they're dealing with trauma, that's a recipe for disaster. So they would want to know that it's been at least 6 months before you have tried to foster, and that you have also had therapy or something to cope with your own trauma, so that when the kids come in, then you're healthy enough to help them deal with their trauma because they're already going through a lot. So that's one type of foster parent. So then we have another type of foster parent, might be kinship. So in kinship, that's like a relative, like a type of a relative placement. So, and I in my family had a cousin of mine that had a relative's children placed in her home for various reasons. And so that can be a good and a bad experience because when you're so close to the family, and then you have the family come and be, their children come and be placed in your home. I think the hard part to that is that they're their children. And so that can become a battle all in itself, because you might have rules and regulations that you've already set for your home. But these kids, which are your family, maybe their parents have not set those rules and regulations for their home. Maybe they were able to kind of be a little more free and kind of do what they want to do, or maybe they were just raised differently altogether. So if they're just raised differently altogether, then it kind of clashes. And then you have them wanting to kind of dictate or tell you how and when. And sometimes you get that when you have kinship placement. It becomes a very, very sticky situation. And then you have grandparents that come in and they take over, they take on the responsibility of caring for their their family's children. In my case, I had my grandparents, they came in and they took care of us. It wasn't like a foster situation, but we were still living with our grandparents, which was not who we should have been living with, which was our very own parents. So I live with my grandparents, and I grew up part of my life with them. They were great. They were like angels. Taught me everything that I know about caring and loving people, and the Lord just really used them to be really instrumental in my life, and learning about the Word of God and learning about how the Lord loves me and how I am not alone. Because a lot of the kids that come, they feel alone, they feel abandoned, they're in the system, they are away from their very own family. So that's traumatic in itself. So even when we have a grandparent that's taking over for their family, it's still traumatic for the kid in that we feel like we should be placed with our own parents. Why aren't our own parents taking care of us? Why aren't they there for us? Why don't they love us? Or what did we do that would cause us not to be placed with our parent? Like, what happened in that situation? There's so many different variables and so many different thoughts and ideas that go through a child's mind, especially when they're removed from their very own parents. It doesn't matter that my grandparents came and got me to help my mom. The point is that it was a traumatic experience because I was not with my mom, and that's who I wanted to be with. And I had all the questions of very, very young of why, how, was I not good enough? Was I a bad girl? Just all of the various things. So if you can imagine, these kids are coming into the family's home and they're still experiencing this trauma and all of the reasons why. They want to know, why aren't they with their own family? And sometimes they're too young to explain why. Sometimes the kids, because we grow up kind of fast, we kind of know what the deal is, but it still hurts, and we still have that feeling of abandonment or hopelessness of whatever the situation might have been before we were placed with our grandparents. And then we get there and we're still feeling that. And so in my case, my grandparents taking me to church, loving on me, they treated me like I was their own. So I called my grandmother mom and I called my grandfather dad. They were extremely instrumental in my life, especially in a spiritual way, because my grandparents worked in the ministry. So my grandmother was a preacher. My grandfather was a deacon. He would drive my grandmother and also the pastors to like various places, because my grandmother was also an evangelist. So it worked out. Thank God it did. However, it's not always that way for other children. So that's the kinship side of it. And then you have family friend placement. So maybe the parents might have a friend that can take the kid, or children. So then the kids go to the family friend. Sometimes in this situation, depending on if it's just an emergency placement, maybe the kids are removed, but they're going to go back the next day or the next couple days. Sometimes in this situation, they don't have to go through all of the process of actually being a foster parent. Years ago, when I was living with my grandparents, there wasn't the rules of you have to go through all of the background checks and all of these things in order for you to live with your grandparents until your parents got it together. Nowadays, they have everyone in the family go through the background check. They have to go through all the classes and all of the screenings and various things and the orientation in order for them to be certified. And then the home check. So they come check the home. They want to make sure that we're in a healthy, safe environment, and that we have plenty of space for our clothes, we have food, and that the environment is basically safe for children to come to. So like years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of those things going on. Now they have what we're called now resource parents. We're not typically called foster parents anymore. But now everyone that is trying to become a foster parent or that is trying to take a family friend, they have to go through the process. So there might be several people that the parents are friends with that might try to go through the process and getting the child to come and live with them. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It just really depends on their background check and whatever's going on with them. So sometimes that works out with the family friend. So then we have single parents. So with single parents, they they want to serve in the community in some way. Maybe they're single, they're not married yet. They want to be married, they want to have a family, but they're not there yet. But they would like to serve in some way. And they love kids. So, like in my case, yes, I was married, I worked at a daycare. I absolutely love kids. So, maybe in their case, they love kids, they want to help. Maybe they have been through some experiences that would cause them to want to help kids and want to be there for kids. So then they become foster parents in the hopes that they can make a difference in other kids' lives, which I believe is great. And then you have Christian foster parents. That's where I would be categorized as a Christian foster parent. So with being a Christian foster parent, when I typically get kids, at first when you become a foster parent, you're just like, oh great, let's help kids, and you just accept whatever kids they give you. No, no, no. I learned very quickly that that is not a good idea. It's not a good idea because then if you have your own kids, the influence that they could have on your own kids, or maybe the experience that they come from is so traumatic that then they become abusers and they start abusing your kids. It can go either way. It's important to be very experienced. It's important to do your own research. It's important to, yes, they do have classes and these various things that you can go to help you. What me and my husband did, we actually took away what we could use from the classes, and then we also implemented our own teaching and raising and that sort of thing. And we did that because when you go strictly by the book, it's like a teacher. When you go into a classroom and the teacher is teaching, but they have no livelihood. They're just like, I don't know if you've ever seen the TV commercial, the dry eyes commercial, and the guy is like, dry eyes. That is so stinking boring. Like the kids, they're just like, no. So when you go specifically by the book, line for line, 1, 2, 3, 4, in order, everything, it just truly does not work. You use the skills that they give you, but you also have to put your own twist on there because you're your own person too. So it's important that when I say put your own twist on there, that you might have a rule as of, or I want to say they might have a rule as of, yes, the kids can go to a friend's house to go and play or whatever have you, or to go and hang out with friends or whatever have you. Okay, yes, you can go to a friend's house. However, there's a time limit that you're going to be there. I need to meet the parents. I need to know that the parents are going to be looking out for you in the same way that I would be looking out for you. What I'm saying to you is we're talking about prudent parenting. They didn't have that before. They have implemented it in the last several years, but me and my husband have been very instrumental in, oh no, that's not a good friend. That's not a good environment for you to be in. No, that's not somewhere you're going to go. So they do have rules, but at the same time, you kind of have to be a good judge of character and really discern the kid, the personality of the kid, the friends that they have, the families that they're going to go hang out with. Are the friends family like, you can just do what you want to do? What type of parents are they? How are they parenting their own children? And then that will say a lot, as opposed to when your kid comes over there, how they're going to parent your kid. Because I think it's important that if we're parents, we're just not parents to our own kids, but other kids that come into the home, it's important that we are parenting them as well, that we're looking out for them, that we're protecting them, that we're loving them too, even though they're not our own kids. All children need love and all children need guidance. So they shouldn't be allowed to just do whatever. So they might have rules, the foster parenting rules, but at the same time, that's the twist that I'm talking about, that you put on there, your own personal experiences or how you would parent your own child. What you do for your child, it's important that you also structure them in that same way, because then you have one kid feeling like you're treating the other kid better. It's a whole thing. So it's better that everything across the board is, I love you, I love you. We're going to do everything the same across the board. We're not going to be doing anything different. So I really try to, as much as I can, implement that. If at all possible, dealing with certain kids. If not, I just don't have them live here. And that's a whole nother thing that we'll talk about all together in another video. So then we have foster youth. So I want to say foster adult youth. So they used to be foster children. They are now adults and they would like to give back. So in all of their experience that they experienced being a foster child, going from home to home or whatever that might have looked like for them, now they want to give back and they want to help other children that have gone through some of the same experiences, which I think is great, because they can then relate to how they feel, how these other children or teens feel. And it's important to share a kinness when you're trying to foster parent. The reason why is because the kids need someone to relate to. They need someone to say, to be able to say, okay, they made it out. They're doing great. Now I can make it out and I can do great too. They need someone to encourage them or mentor them in a way that the average foster parent may not be able to, because they can't understand how they feel or what they're going through. And they might even have some frustrations with whatever their behaviors are, because they don't understand, what's happening. They might even feel like the kid having the tantrums or having all of these issues with mouthing off or whatever, that it's about them, when it's not about the parent. It's about something within the child themselves that they're struggling with, that they're going through. Maybe they're feeling that hopelessness. Maybe something that you might have said has triggered that. Maybe there was a song, or maybe there was a smell, maybe there was something that they watched on TV or whatever have you. Maybe they got into it with another kid, and maybe the kid said something that had something to do with their childhood or something that they've experienced that was traumatic. So now they're feeling some kind of way. So it's important to be able to relate to the kids. And even for those that cannot relate, I thank you so very much for taking the time to want to help, to want to serve these children, because they need us. I needed someone. I know that they need someone too. So then you also have, going on to the next foster parent, fostering to be a stay-at-home parent. So maybe your children are young and you want to stay at home to raise them. So you decide that you didn't want to go back to work right away, and maybe this might be a good situation for you. So like in me and my husband's case, and I said in one of my previous videos that he asked me to stay at home. Well, he was working and he has a great job, but he wanted me to stay at home. I worked at a daycare to raise our own children. So maybe this might be your experience. Maybe not. Maybe it's just that you want to stay at home to raise your children so that you can be a stay-at-home parent, so that they get the majority of their rearing and teaching and all of the things from you, which is actually a great idea. Because while I stayed at home, I taught my children to read, I taught them to count, I taught them their colors, I taught them to write, how to write their name, how to recognize their name at a very, very young age. I think my children were like 3 and 4 years old when I was teaching them, you know, how to read and how to count and how to recognize colors and shapes and all of the things. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Okay, guys, that's all the tea for today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click the bell, drop the comments down below. Thanks for watching. See you soon.